We've been looking at family foundations and what is the first thing in establishing a godly foundation in the family. What is it that needs to be a priority in our families? Who can tell me what's a priority we need to have in our families? Yes, Michael. Putting God first. And why is that important? Why is putting God first important? Okay, because of what he represents.
Foundation.
He's a foundation. Anything else? Why is God at the foundation? What do you think that is? What is that representing? Yeah, so he's the institutor of it, right? God is the one who created the family. And if God created the family, then that means that he knows what he's doing. And many times when we don't have God at the center, then who do we place at the center of our families? Ourselves, right? And so, we've all heard the phraseology, it's my way or the highway. And parents have used that time and time again. Under my rules, under my house, under my roof, it's my rules, right? And so these, no doubt, are going to be up for debate. If there are parents that are the ones that are the defining factor, I'm the lawgiver of this home, I'm the one that says this is how it needs to be, then that's going to be challenged by our children. But when things are established on biblical foundations, we're not just talking about a family, we're now talking about a kingdom. And that kingdom is what we are trying to establish in our homes, the kingdom principles that will ultimately safeguard our families. And a biblical established home is going to be able to withstand every demonic strategy of Satan that falls our way. And so that is the first lesson we looked at having God at the center, dethroning ourselves and putting God at the center of our families. And then we looked secondly at the lesson of unity. And what is the purpose that God is trying to establish within every home in regards to unity? What is the purpose of unity? Love and peace. Okay. Yep. What are we being united to? Yes. Yep. Okay. So we have a faith in a strong foundation. What else? Think about why it's important to be united with God. What would be the result of unity with God? Yeah, okay, so when we're looking at raising children, we have something that is consistent, right? God never changes. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So there is a consistency when we are united to God, right? What else would be a result of being united to God? What else are we united to when we are united to God? His wisdom, absolutely. What else would we be united to? Sorry? Being firm, okay, so consistency with boundaries as well, yes. So if we're united to him in wisdom, we're united to him with love and also his mind. We are now establishing God as a foundation. We have the same mind as of God. We are united to his word. And so now we have more of an understanding of what family represents. Is that God is trying to help us to understand that we need to be of the same mind as him. There are things that we want to do because they benefit us. And that is temporal. But when it is God at the center, He sets the foundations. He places things exactly where they need to be. And it creates order, right? Families can be chaotic. Can you say amen? Right? You have different personalities. You have different mindsets, different desires, goals, things that need to be... And that's chaotic. That brings about all kinds of chaos. And that's okay, because God can work through that. And this is why the unity between families and God creates this wonderful sanctuary or harmony that a family can thrive in. This morning I want to look at foundations of training, because one thing that I've realized, and I'm sure you have as well if you're a parent, that training isn't always the same. When we first had Annabelle, she loved boundaries. She was very consistent with boundaries, and we set boundaries in place and things were perfect, and we thought, you know what? We're perfect parents. We should write a book and have heaps of kids because we just have mastered this. Then we had Lily, and it was a different personality, and we couldn't parent her the same way that we parented Annabelle. And then we had Nate, and that's when you realize you have no idea what you're doing. And so you understand something that we grew from in our understanding was that not all training is the same, that there are children that will respond to a command and they'll do as they say, as you've told them. And then there are children that won't. And that means that you need to adjust your training, because this child you're trying to train is not the same as the other, which is what you want, right? You don't want little minions or little clones. You want them to develop their own personalities, and they're going to express that to you. They're going to share that with you. They're going to tell you that I'm not like my brother or my sister. And that's okay, right? And so the training is not necessarily an issue of a child. It's more a parental issue. That when it comes to you training your child, that the parent has no right of saying, well, this child is difficult, right? This child is a problem. This child, well, guess what? It's your problem. And you've got to solve that problem. You've got to figure this out because you're their only trainer. And so a trainer ought to know what is good for the child, what is beneficial for the child, how the child is going to respond. Today we have, things like triggers and trauma and all these things that people, they just absolutely, react to. And, nowadays it's like, oh, spoiler alert, right? Oh, you didn't tell me, you were going to tell me the end. Now it's spoiled, it's forever spoiled. So before you give out information, spoiler alert, Why? Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, you didn't give me the opportunity to experience that. And so what we're finding now is this evolution of parenting, that there was a time where, you'd sit down there and with your grandfather and he'd tell you, oh, when I was your age, I used to walk 14 miles to get to school, and then I would go to work, and then I would come home, and then I would do my home, and you'd just be like, I don't relate to that. I can afford to ride a bike, or we've got transportation. And so, the evolution of parenting, no doubt, has taken a new form. And so for you and I, the essence of training our children has to be then rooted in just establishing disciplinary boundaries. And so that's what we're going to be looking at this morning, that the foundation of children has to be and will be blessed simply because we have disciplinary boundaries in place, and that will be for their benefit. And so have we handed out scriptures? Or we're not there yet? Okay, so I need Proverbs 22:6, Jotham. Then I need 2 Kings chapter 21, verse 20, Michael. Then 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 6, Luke Then Deuteronomy 6 through to 9. Anybody else with a Bible this morning that can help me out? TJ, Deuteronomy 6 through to 9. Then I need Genesis 19:14. Genesis 19:14. Jackie. Ephesians 6:4. Eva, thank you. Ephesians 6:4. Last one, Proverbs 29:15. Proverbs 29:15. Anybody else with Richard? Thank you so much. All right, let's read our main text, Proverbs 22:6, and then let's launch into our lesson.
Train up your child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Okay, so I want to look firstly, let's focus on difficulty in training. Because the reality of training up our children is that there's many things that we do as parents through the eyes of assumption, right? We assume certain things. And one of the things that we assume more often than not is that we assume we know what we're doing, right? And the tragedy strikes when you realize you have no idea what you're doing with children. Professional athletes often have trainers. Their job is to show the athlete where they are weak and what they need to work on. And from a place of expertise, they will be able to shape that athlete into someone that is better than the trainer. And that presents all kinds of trouble because our text is train up a child in the ways he should go, which assumes we know the way we're going. And, it's people today that maybe you have failed marriages, parents who have broken up, have disappointed you, have failed you. And so we often, more than not, aren't capable of drawing from the right resources that we desperately need in order to be the trainer that our child needs. The second thing we can assume is that we have perfect examples to follow. Is that sometimes we don't realize that we are parenting out of our trauma or out of our lack of understanding. Like I said, parents who have broken up, who have divorced, children that are a product of that. And so, tragically, the bad examples produce these children where it's unhealthy relationships. In 2 Kings chapter 21, verse 20.
And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, as his father Manasseh had done.
Okay, so think about it. Here is Amnon, who the Bible says is just following the instructions of what he had seen from Manasseh. His father Manasseh had done these things, and so it's just bad habits being reproduced in the next generation. And so we have now this being passed down. 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 6.
Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord and did not fully follow the Lord, as did his father David. Okay, so we see now that, David in the final stages of his life, there was questionable decisions, and so Solomon just carried on in this reality. He replicated this, and we have these examples that we would rather follow. There are good examples out there, but they're few and far between. More often than not, we are drawn to those bad examples. We can also assume we only need one single approach in parenting. And this is really what I want to focus on, is the understanding that every child has a different personality. Every child that you're dealing with is responding differently to certain instructions, and your ability to figure this out sooner rather than later is going to result in your blessing. Your ability to, as your child grows, approach these challenges head on and say, okay, I don't remember the first child being like this, but now this child is here, the second child, I have to try to figure this out. And this many times happens when you have
a girl and then you have a boy, right? Or you have a boy and then you have a girl, and it's like all of a sudden you go, okay, well, wait a minute, this is not the same. And even when you have, a girl and another girl, and it's like they're different in all kinds of different ways. And this is one of the most frustrating realities a parent can face, because it's almost like, why aren't you the same as everybody else? Simply because you are training this child and you are trying to figure out what it is that they desperately need. So the need of applying biblical principles of training in the form of discipline now becomes the greatest approach. But let's look firstly at what is discipline. Discipline is God's methods, okay? Discipline is establishing God's methods given to parents for the correct training of their children. In other words, it's in your best interest to reiterate, this is because we are a Christian family. We are doing this because we are born-again Christians. Jesus is in our hearts. We are following the Word of God. And so this does away with, just do it because mum and dad say so. Because guess what? They're going to go to school. They're going to see their friends. They're going to be exposed to other, and they're going to realize, wait a minute, why does Timmy down the street get to stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning? Right? Why does little Susie get to sleep over everybody's house? Why do they have this entertainment and TVs and movie nights? And why is it that we're different? And so discipline is God's methods being put in place. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 through to 9.
And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlet between your eyes. You shall write them on your doorposts of your house and on your gate.
Okay, so what we're seeing here is God, who is the institutor of family, who created families, is now encouraging us to demonstrate and teach this to our children. If He is the one who created it, don't you think He would know what's best for our family? Right? And so here He is, He's having to now speak this out. Write this down. Don't forget it. Speak it to your children. Pass it on, because these are God's methods that need to be put in place. The second aspect of this is that discipline is a parent's direct confrontation with a child's self-will. Is that what you're exposing is the moment you lay down God's methods for family, you are exposing self-will. You're realizing there's a twofold thing here. Firstly, that your child doesn't want to listen to you. And secondly, you're also realizing that you yourself don't want to carry out the godly methods that have been put in place. Now, let me try to explain that. Most parents struggle with smacking their kids. And if that's you, let me just say this, that's normal. Because parents very rarely wake up and go, "Oh, I can't wait to smack some butt cheeks today. Oh, they're ticking me off. I had a dream of them last night, and I just know that they've drawn on the walls, and they're going to give me attitude," and you just wake up, you're just there with a wooden spoon, like, who's up first? Right? No parent is like that. Every parent struggles with disciplining their children. That is because you're normal. And so what we're doing is we're realizing, well, wait a minute, if God's methods are best for my family, and when I speak to them to my children, it causes this reaction, And now I'm like, okay, that's what God's telling me I got to deal with, but now that's hard for me to deal with. This is the self-will that needs to be addressed. The child doesn't want to be corrected, and the parent doesn't want to be the corrector. And so now we're realizing that self-will is ruling in the family home. So what's best for our families? Making it very clear what needs to be done and what is acceptable. The third thing we see is that discipline always involves instructions in boundaries. Is that we are not the family down the street that lets their kids do whatever they want, be whoever they want to be. Is, as a parent, I have the right to establish things for what's good for our family. This is what God said. This is how we ought to live our lives. And these instructional boundaries are going to be placed there, yes, as limitations, but more as a safety barrier. They are going to stop your kids from crossing the line and going into dangerous territories where you can't protect them anymore. And so what damages the effectiveness of discipline has less to do with the child and more to do with the parent. Okay? What damages the child has more to do with us parents, less to do with the child. The first reason for that is because most parents are distracted. Distracted parents lead to inconstant discipline. So it's like inconsistencies. If you're distracted, you'll forget what you need to do. If you're caught up in, you know what, I've got to get the groceries here, we're at the shops, we've got to buy these things, we've got to go here, we've got to go there, this is the plan, and this child is playing up, and I don't have time for this. And I'm sorry if you've done this in the past, and I'm not here to try to ridicule your parenting skills, but please stop pretending like you can't hear them, because the entire Westfield can. And that's not a dig at you. I'm just saying I've seen parents, no one, thank God, in this church, but parents are, I'm not listening. We are. I'm not watching. I'm not going to pay attention to you. No. We can. And I tell you right now, I'm forming some images of things that I want to do to you that are going to get me in trouble. But it's distracted parents. It's parents that are inconsistent with their disciplines. Much of parenting feels like you're trying to just, put these things in place and boundaries and we're trying to balance career and jobs and ministry and schedules and responsibility, and it's very easy to just tune things out because we have our priorities. But this results in discipline not being implemented consistently, boundaries that are blurred, and now you have a very confused child. That's all it is if you're distracted and you're inconsistent, your child is just confused. They don't know what's right, they don't know what's wrong. One day you're like, yep, this is what the law is, and they apply that and they do that, and then they realize the next day it's completely different. Mum didn't see. Mum didn't hear. Dad didn't see. Dad forgot. Genesis chapter 19, verse 14.
So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-law, who had married his daughters, and said, "Get up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city." But to his sons-in-laws he seemed to be joking.
Okay, that's my worst fear right there, because I love having a good joke. I love laughing and keeping things light. But when it comes to life and death, right? And dad is trying to lay down the law, and my children are like, Dad's doing one of these things again. That's horrifying. But I see that with parents all the time, where they try to be the child's best friend. They try to be the cool dad, the cool mom. It's like, oh, I'm not a parent. I'm just, this cool person in your life, and you're going to have this wonderful upbringing, and it's not going to be like my terrifying parents that, tortured me, and, it's like, I'm just going to be so cool and blasé, and, and then the Bible says it comes to a time where something's going to destroy your life, and you realize, well, wait a minute, I need to share this with my children so that they don't lose their lives, and they don't take it in. They don't receive it. It shows us the danger in delaying to do what is right. Yeah, the child is looking at a parent going, I'm confused. Wait a minute, you said that was right and this is wrong, and now you're saying that's wrong and this is right. We have inconsistencies. The second thing that we see in the damage done to effective discipline has to do with frustrated parents. Frustration is very real in parenting. There's nothing more frustrating than looking at your child and saying, this is what I want you to do, and they just glazed over. No understanding. And sometimes it's like, did you not hear what I said? No, they didn't. Are you not listening? No, they're not listening. They've already tuned your voice out, and something needs to change. And so what happens is we have this frustrated parents that leads to pragmatic discipline. It's idea that logic and reason can replace biblical foundation of discipline. If my child has more information, he's gonna know exactly what needs to be done. But the reality is bad behavior is rooted in a sinful nature. Is that children refuse to do what is right even if it's good for them. That's just sinful nature. And that's in all of us, right? That's in all of us. I remember when I was smoking cigarettes, they had advertising, produces lung cancer, and you looked at it and you go, wow, that's bad for him. And then you'd light up your cigarette. We just refuse to do what is good for us, even when we know it's bad. That's part of our sinful nature. So what we're dealing with is something that is rooted deep inside a child that a parent needs to learn to be able to expose. So, no, it's not just about rules and regulations. It's the spirit behind it, right? Why do I have to do this? Because it's the right, godly thing to do. Because Jesus is watching, and we need to make sure that our lives are pleasing to Him. And so it's not just rules and regulations. It's not just things that, that's just what mum and dad want. It's like, no, this is what's right. This is what is required from us. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4.
And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Okay, so we are training them, bringing them up. Don't cause them to, don't parent through frustration. If you're frustrated at your child and you just, they just won't listen, they just don't do as I say, and now it's just, that's it. I'm turning this car, how many times have I'm turning this car around, we're all going home. It's like, that's a lie. You do it one more time, you do it one more time, and we're going to leave this place, and we're all going to stay home and not have any food. It's like, they know you're just frustrated. You're just frustrated. The third thing we see is the imbalanced parent that leads to reactive discipline. And this is one of the so imbalanced parenting, things, where it's like
You're giving your child so much rope. Have you seen those leads, those leashes that children can have? It's like, you know, and then they're like, well, where's little Troy gone? We've got to get him back, you know. And it's just an imbalanced parenting strategy. You're reacting to a discipline that needs to be put in place way before. And teaching this before the actual discipline needs to be done is absolutely instrumental. In other words, before you get out of the car, we're going to go to the shops, and there's going to be a lot of people. And you're going to walk next to me. And if you can't walk next to me, you're going to hold my hand. Right? And those are the strict instructions. And so you get out and you've set the boundaries in place. And you walk and they start walking ahead of you. They start falling behind. I can't see you. Where have you gone? Come here. You're going to hold my hand. Right? You're bringing about these boundaries before. You know the consequences. It's none of this like, Johnny, where are you? I told you. I can't see. It's like, it's too late. You need to establish this. Every single time, my family and I, we get to somebody's house, we're going to go to fellowship, we're at their home, we park the car. Okay, we are going to our friend's house. You're going to be respectful. You're going to say thank you and please, and you're going to do everything that represents our family as a godly family. And the moment you don't, there's going to be consequences. There's going to be some action put in place. Everybody understand? Yes, Dad. Okay, let's go. We're moving in. I'm not reacting to everything. All I have to do is, oh, you forgot about what our rules were. The agreement was, okay, so you understand there's going to be a consequence. Simple as that. Is why are we waiting? Is okay, that's it. Put that down. 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. Well, you know, it's too late. We have to be preemptive so that our child understands we are already in control. There are disciplines that have been put in place for your child's blessing. Discipline equals warning, right? Clear boundaries, self-control. A child's demonstrating the ability to obey instructions, training, a physical correction when boundaries are crossed, instructions telling them why. Regular part of life. Never be at a point where you have to try to now explain that to them after it's already been done. You're going to take them aside in the middle of the shopping center. Okay, Johnny, you stole that item from the shop. You didn't pay for it. And so now we need to... It's like, I get it when there are things that happen like that. But you need to be able to explain things prior so that they're aware. You are staying with me. You are not letting go of my hand. We are going to make sure we get this thing done and we move away and everybody's happy. The fourth thing we see is that guilty parents, if you parent through a posture of guilt, you are robbing your child of something that they desperately need. One of the biggest areas that again, a parent can make is they can parent through guilt, where they like, you know what, I don't want to do what my parents did, or I've made mistakes, and so this posture of being guilty already is then robbing your child of a discipline that needs to be established for their benefit. Listen, not one person here as a parent is perfect. Your children will get to an age where they'll realize that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't parent. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't lay down the law and put things in place, boundaries for your family to actually move forward. We have to deal with something that is very real in our children's life, and don't let them emotionally blackmail you.
They're like, oh, you don't want me to have fun. You won't let me go out. Timmy down the street gets to do whatever he wants. It's like, this is emotional blackmail right now. And they're like, okay, give him more lollies. Let him stay up. Let him do whatever he wants. He's just, you know what? He's just... Don't make excuses for your kid. They're tired. They're tired. You know what? I think they're sore tummy. In fact, I think, you know, they must be teething. Must be teething, and there must be, I mean, let's look for some reason why this is happening. It's like, maybe that is the case. That sometimes happens. But let's be honest. More times than not, it's guilt. There's something inside of us that's like, oh, I don't want to take this away from them. And I don't want to have to do this and bring a correction. Kids are emotional manipulators, very skilled at it. They've got a degree in it, and it's called sinful nature. Proverbs 29:15. Listen to what the Bible says.
The rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother.
Okay, so we're talking about an instrument that brings correction and it drives something out, right? It is stopping your child from being fueled by all kinds of sinful nature behaviors. And so, you know, in time, they learn what wears you down. They know exactly what wears you down. They'll use tears. They'll be annoying. My son right now, this is what he's doing. If he doesn't, you know, he'll come up, can I play on the Nintendo Switch? And I'll be like, no, you've just woken up. You need to make your bed, and you need to. And so what does he do now? Like I say to him, and this is, you know, he's wearing me down. You got to play with your toys first. And so what okay, no problem. Dad wants me to play with my toys. And so he brings his electronic drum kit and he sits it on the table, kitchen table. And bang, doom, bang, ka, pull. And I'm like, and he does it on purpose. It's like, oh, I'm playing with my toys. And it brings his DJ thing, woo, 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 you know, and he's making noises. It's like, I'm doing what, he's wearing me down. He thinks I'm going to break. I'm not. Absolutely not. But that's a reality, right? Your child is testing the boundaries, and your parenting has to do with, I'm not going to react to this. I'm not responding to this. I'm not going to just allow you to manipulate me to get what you want. You have to understand, they know what they're doing. They study you. You need to learn to study them. Okay, so have I caused you to think of any questions? Anything you'd like to ask? Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Again, this is an open forum, and so let's bring this up. Yes, Angie, let's kick it off.
Hi, Pastor. The discipline, like with Chloe, one stage. I think I did use the wooden spoon.
Yes.
Maybe 3 times or a little bit. It was hurt. It was very hurt for me, but I break the boundaries. Like, she wasn't sitting in the car seat.
Yep.
I'm sure you had that part as well. At one stage, I took them to the farm. I had to hold her down, and my in-laws and Sarah, 3 of us, because she wasn't sitting down. And then one time, when I had to ask wisdom and holy, and
yes.
What do I do? So, wooden spoon. But one time it leave a mark in her leg.
Yep.
And
yep.
that was still haunting me a little bit. So how do I process that? And yeah, I had to do it with Joshua as well. But he's good now, like sitting. But yeah, that mark, it still haunt me.
Absolutely. So what we're talking about, let's go back to parenting through the eyes of guilt, right? I feel sorry for my child. Again, you're normal to think that, right? Normal to be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mark my child. Like, that's horrible, yeah? So think about what's happening. Are you parenting through, is the guilt there because of the frustration? Did you implement, because again, when it comes to the rod of correction, we're not doing this out of anger and frustration. It's not like, that's it, I've told you a minute, whack, you know, you got to be controlled, right? And your purpose of that is, yes, you're going to cause some pain, but it shouldn't break the skin, it shouldn't cause bruising, it shouldn't be anything. It should be enough to cause the child to, oh, okay, I feel the pain of that. Now, it's very difficult when you have a child in a nappy, right? Because it's like, I don't want to take the nappy off and smack the butt, and so I'll hit the thigh. But that's what happens. There'll be a mark, there'll be a red mark or a bruise or something. And so in that case, I would make sure you're resorting back to, I'm going to smack on the butt, right? God has given this seed of learning, right? This padded area where you can smack, and it's gonna be perfect for them, right? It's gonna really set them free. And so I think learn not to discipline out of frustration. That would be my first thing. It's like, I'm not angry, and I'm controlled, and I'm doing this for the child's benefit. Okay, that will set you free from the feeling of like, I don't want to leave a mark, right? Because then you go, okay, I did smack and I didn't use too much force, but I did smack and it still left a mark, but I was composed. It wasn't in anger, it wasn't in frustration, I wasn't unhinged, I wasn't yelling and screaming, I wasn't, I was actually enforcing this, and one of my children very easily bruised, and that just, it is what it is, right? But I wouldn't be then, that's it, I don't want to bruise my child at all. It's like, no, I'm following the right steps. I'm composed, I'm not frustrated, I'm applying the right place, and so those things are your boundaries, your safeguards. And then you can also, bounce it off your husband, right? It's like, okay, I did this, and this is the result. Did I do something wrong? Did you see me? Was I, and that's why you both can work well with each other. But definitely, don't feel guilty. Like, as a parent, it is not natural to have to correct your child. It just feels so, okay, you know what, just, that's fine, you just do what you do, and I'll be over here and we'll figure it out one day. It's like, that's not what God has instructed us to do. It's in your child's best interest for you to implement that for them, okay? And so it's completely normal to feel guilty through that. Raquel. Oh. Answered. Okay, very good. Very good. Any other questions? Cynthia.
Yeah, good morning, Pastor.
Morning.
In the center that I work, like you have vacation care and you have also toddlers. Mostly the toddlers is they challenge you,
Yes.
The 1 to 2 years old.
Yes.
So I could say I learned how to breathe in and out.
Yes.
And I ask God before I start my work. I have co-worker that also a Christian. We lay hand the room first before we start because it's a challenge for us. She's Australian. I said to her, if you want this battle to God's to win,